Today, we're going to talk about fasting and feasting, knowing when, where, and why you can use these particular tricks to advance your health and to optimize your physiology. And just so you know, for a long, long time, I had did the calorie spike, which we talked about that I'd learned from my old coach, Scott Abel, back in the bodybuilding days, which we did these spikes, what we call feasting. But then I also, as I got more into optimization, I started to study fasting. And if you look at these two things, so we've got feasting and we've got fasting. Now, interesting point about both of these things is both of them, if used properly, can accentuate or accelerate your health, your vitality, all that sort of stuff. Let me change my pen there. I got a little ink problem. So bottom line is how do you use it? When do you use it? How does it work? And what are the types? So we talked a little bit about this. I'll come back to that in a second. Let's talk about fasting. Now, fasting has an incredibly long history. Almost all of the religious cultures in different areas, whether it was Indian or Buddhism or Islam or Christianity, all would talk about different people using fasting as a way of purification on a spiritual level. But the reality is there is actually a physiological benefit to fasting. Basically, when you fast, you involve a restriction of food. It's really the simplest way to tell you what it is. But there's different types of fasts. There's like juice fasts, okay? Probably one of the easiest ones to get onto. There is water fasts, okay? That's where you just fast on water. Then there's also, we've got dry fasts, which are fairly aggressive and really need to watch what you're doing on those ones. And now today, I think, and another important one is the digital fast, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So basically what you would do is to get started in one of these, you would say, let's say you're going to do juice fasting. And this is where people, I think, probably have the easiest and fastest results to kind of get integrated, because the fear that comes up is like, oh my God, I'm going to starve if I don't eat or in a few days. So with juice fasting, what you do is you'd pick maybe it's a special type of fast where you're doing specific juice, or you could do just, juice that you enjoy. So basically what you do for maybe 1 to 3 days, you would do nothing but drinking fresh juice. Could be green juice, could be fruit juice. What we do find, though, is people will start off maybe on a more like sweeter juices, and then they move into like green juices and that type of thing in order to kind of get the blood sugar down and stabilized. What this does is allows you to free up your enzymatic reserves. So remember when we talked about the turkey dinner syndrome way back in one of the earlier lessons? We talk about, you eat too much and all the blood goes to your stomach and your brain shuts down, your body shuts down because you're trying to make your own enzymes in order to digest this food. Well, with fasting, when you do juice, it takes much less energy or much less enzymes in order to digest this. So what that does is it frees up your enzymatic reserves to heal the body. In other words, you can regenerate organs, you can, regenerate all sorts of parts of your body, brain function, liver, kidneys, all this sort of stuff. And there are specific fasts that would involve juices and herbs, okay, that would accelerate this. Sometimes there'll be herbs that will help remove mucoid plaque that's built up in the body or that sort of thing. Also herbs that might support different organs if it's been determined by your Jedi Council, which we talked about another thing, your ND or your medical doctor, that there's organs that might be compromised. These are great ways to accelerate that process. Now, once a person, and sometimes people will go on these juice fasts for extended times, 1 day, 3 days, working their way up to, 10, and I've seen people do it for 20 or 30 days. I find for the most part, 1 to 3 days is significant enough to get the benefit. If you're going to go longer than that, I do suggest that you get proper medical counsel or with your naturopathic doctor or someone who is experienced in that. The next one that I think that I've used for years is a water fast. Now, water fast means that you will not eat anything other than water during the period of the fast. And this has huge psychological implications. So, for example, a 1-day fast, this here will allow you to, you just get up in the morning, consume water all day long, and you stay for a 24-hour period without eating. It allows your body to just fully hydrate and flush out any toxins inside the system. Now, once you're able to do this, so generally the progression through these is a 1 to 3 day fast would be something like maybe start off once a week doing a juice fast. And then after, a month to 3 months, move up to a 3-day juice fast. After you've got that mastered for maybe 6 months, try a 1-day water fast instead, or do a juice day, a water day, and then another juice day. That's a great way to break into it. And then what's kind of surprising is that you start to discover that fasting is actually pretty easily. It also, not only does it have healing aspects, it also resets metabolism. Now, I've done water fasts, and my close clients have done water fasts up to 10 days. Okay? And this, I feel, for the most part, is the upper limit unless you're in a serious medical situation, and that would only be under the guidance of a very experienced professional in the field if you were going to go beyond this. But 10 days, what I'll start out with a juice day for a day or two, 1 to 2 days, and then I go 7 days on water, and then coming off that, we go 1 or 2 days on liquid foods. And of course, when you're doing these fasts, you got to bring in solid food much lower. What happens is it resets appetite. Your first couple of days, you're going to be hungry for a couple of days, and all of a sudden, then your body just gets into metabolizing fat and metabolizing dead tissue that's inside the body, and that you start fueling off the stuff that your body doesn't need, which is really, really cool. And what's interesting is usually by day 5, 6, 7, you're actually feeling quite euphoric. Now, there's ways to accelerate this. So I looked at, how does fasting work? Well, it works because of freeing up enzymes inside your body and not taxing your digestive system. So I said, well, what would happen if I took massive amounts of enzymes? It's one of the names of our product, Masszymes, for example, which is highly proteolytic, and we want to break up any proteolytic organs or tissue that we don't need, i.e. tumors and stuff. So if I take massive amounts, and this one goes from anywhere as 25 to 100 a day, and then I add probiotics, and I would do, whatever you do here, you do a 2.5 to 1 ratio, enzymes to probiotics. So this would be, you would go, if you did 25, you're going to do 10. If you did 50 enzymes, you'd do 20 probiotics. And if you did 100, okay, you would do approximately, did I get that right? 2.5, yeah, 25, 10. If you did 100, you do about 40. All right? Now, you would take these in different parts of the day to really stimulate. Now, oftentimes, keep in mind, that is very, very aggressive. Again, we would recommend that you go under guidance. Then there's what's called a dry fast. Now, a dry fast, oftentimes, this is usually 1 day is significant enough for it. This is one where you actually go without water for a day. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because this is very, very advanced. This involves specialized herbs that you take. Oftentimes, you can go out and use excessive heat and these type of things, but this is only for the very, very super healthy and someone who's been doing fasting for at least a year to 2 years before you engage in something like that. I just want to give you the idea that I'm aware of it, and I have done it, particularly, going out into the desert for the whole day and that sort of thing. It's kind of interesting. Today, though, I'm going to talk also about digital fasts. And one of the things that I highly recommend as part of your recovery is taking breaks from the electronic information that you're receiving. So going on a vacation without your cell phone and your computer so that nobody can get a hold of you and that you just sit and relax, kind of like things used to be before all this technology came in. This can be both disconcerting and empowering. In other words, the first day or two, you're going out of your mind because you're like, oh my God, I don't have my phone, I don't know how to communicate, I don't got my emails. But what happens is you're able to settle in. I'll put that down there. You're able to settle into a different mental place. And going back to our brain wave states, oftentimes you're able to access brain wave states that are fast-paced lives you can't do. And this is a wonderful way to kind of just readjust and kind of reposition yourself in life. It's like, am I really on the right path? Am I doing the right stuff? Do I have enough time to actually sit and think about the direction of where my health is going, the direction of where my career might be going, these type of things? Taking digital fasts is something that I started doing recently, and I gotta say, it is extraordinary. It's really done a lot for me, and I very encourage it. It's not necessarily on the food side, but it's just as important because information is a form of food. Now, by following these protocols, and during these fasts, feel free to use our vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. Sometimes people will add specific amino acids, like from plant-based sources or that sort of things, or they might take, again, we talk about special herbs and cleansers, and sometimes people will add enemas on top of it or colonics. These are ways to accelerate, particularly if we have a lot of buildup inside the intestinal wall of mucoid plaque and things like that. These can come in very, very powerful methodologies for really detoxifying your body. I know that a lot of the top health experts will do these, or you can go on to one of these holistic health retreats that will have them. So it's just extraordinary. I highly recommend you check it out. Now, let's talk about feasting. So fasting works through the restriction of calories, and feasting, this works for the excess. Now, if you've been doing, now keep in mind that doesn't mean go out to like McDonald's tomorrow and start, hey, Wade told me to go just like pig out, it's going to help my metabolism. No, that's not how it works. Once a person has been following a regimen, so let's say you've gone through the entire 12-week program, the 84 steps, you did one of these every day, you followed a relatively restricted or responsible caloric eating, so we'll call it stable calories. We don't have an I there. Stable cals. Okay. You've been following this for a regimented time. So, standard, let's say, is a 2,000 calorie diet. This is not saying this is right for you, but I'm just going to say, you've been on that for days, you've been, for 3 months, and you've been doing exercise. What I find is you need somewhere between 12 and 20 weeks for this to work properly. This is the feasting mode. So once you've been unstable on your calories, what you'll do is you'll pick one day a week where you'll spike up the calories, usually somewhere in like 3 to 5 or 6x. That much. You'll spike. So, a 2,000 person might go up to 10,000 calories, which is a lot. This is where you want to eat the foods that what are not so good for you, or things that have the high calorie. Maybe you've been restricting yourself. You've been staying away from those things that have kind of taken you off your program for a while. This is the day that you'll do it. Now, you'll do this in a simple, if you get up at 8 in the morning every day and you go to bed at like 12 o'clock at night, that's the window, 18 hours. Do not exceed the 18-hour window. And the reason being is metabolically, it's virtually impossible for you to gain fat if you followed this program. So by stacking the calories on this day, what happens is you fill up your glycogen reserves, you fill up your intramuscular fat cells, which has some positive performance benefits. We used to do this in bodybuilding. And what happens is your metabolism speeds up. So we talked about that in an earlier lesson. You can go back to that about, how your metabolism works. I'll just do a quick review here so you can see it for yourself. You go through, here's your metabolism. And as you're going along on the calorie thing, this is time. And this is your metabolism. So what happens is, if you're on a calorie deficient diet, this is the problem that people have when they're dieting. And that's why I said diets don't work. The metabolism starts to slow and your body gets more and more efficient. So here around the 12-week time, this is the time you do a calorie spike. Now what will happen is your metabolism will raise back up again, and you'll find that you'll go another period where your body will take a long time to go back. Now, if you're doing this every 1 week or every 2 weeks, what happens is you're going to spike down, your body spikes up, and gradually your metabolism is going to increase ever so slightly. And if you're doing it in conjunction with all the things that we recommended, the practices and principles that we talk about, the 12 habits of highly healthy people, which is in the course, you can review those each week. If you're doing all those things, this becomes a way that you can set your life up socially. It's a way that you can keep your metabolism rev. It's a way that you can keep away from having restrictions inside your life, so that, for example, you know that, on Saturday night, you've got a big wedding to go to. There's going to be a lot of social aspects. Your whole family's going to be there. You can say, you know what, Saturday's going to be my spike night. So you go into the social event, you eat all the food you want, you have a few drinks with the family, whatever it happens to be, and guess what? You have nothing to fear because you're actually going to be in better shape as opposed to blowing yourself out. But I can't emphasize enough, this is the key. And just to follow up, one last thing is, again, you're going to need this period of time in order to get this set up for the feasting part. But for the fasting part, you can start right away. You can start doing 1 day a week where you just, start on a juice fast. Get fresh juices is best. There's a lot of fresh juiceries now that will offer that. And while you're doing this, boost up your enzymes and probiotics. This will accelerate the internalized healing, if you will. Of course, we can't treat or any medical conditions or anything like that. But if you got more of these guys, got more workers, enzymes and probiotics are the workers, it's going to accelerate the benefits and effects of these products or processes, and it's going to keep you feeling great. And that's the most important part. The idea here is that you feel better, not worse, that you get healthier instead of going backwards, that you don't yo-yo into the toilet from diets, that you have an eating and nutrition plan and this entire step-by-step process that allows you to achieve the optimal level of health and vitality. So I know we covered a lot today in today's lesson, but this is really, really important. If you have some specific questions, you want to find out about specific fasts and stuff, be sure to check into our BiOptimizers website. Post up there, bioptimizers.com, and we'll see you on the next lesson.